This week on the 414 Live, it's about B2B market domination through differentiation. Simply producing an incrementally better product or service every time is actually a race to the bottom. So enter the practice of category design. I'll be speaking with Elliot Harrison, who will explain in detail why category design allows you to knock out your competition through avoiding one-on-one technical comparisons. Apple are masters of this approach, and Elliot will explain in detail for you so that you can evaluate for yourself how you could use this incredibly powerful marketing technique for your company. Hi, I'm James Rostance and welcome to the 414 Live. Each week with some of the greatest and most interesting minds in B2B marketing. And this, our first official The 414 Live, produced exclusively for the LinkedIn platform, as we are some of the first people to be doing the LinkedIn Live. So here we are. Sorry that we're a little bit late. There was something going on in the background, but we fixed it. And for this first show, we've got an awesome guest on the way today. So as I explained, category design is about creating your own category of which you are king so that you can achieve market separation first of all, and ultimately market domination because you're the king of your own unique category. It's a fantastic principle and it's something that I've followed for quite a while now, but one of the UK's leading experts in the field, I'm delighted to have live on the show right now. So joining us live from Hammersmith in very nice West London, welcome Mr. Elliot Harrison.
Hi James, good to be with you today.
There we go. I'm so glad we've got you on air now, and it's working and nice. Seriously, and I realised as well, we're also live streaming the behind the scenes of this on Instagram, and the 5 minutes of quick madness was live streamed on there. So when you're in front of camera, you're always on camera. Remember that.
Yes.
But you're cool as anything. So we'll let. As an expert in category design, this is why we got you on, and I guess the first question that I was going to put to you is, could you start by explaining why it is someone would want to design their own category in the first place, and what's the business benefit of that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So many businesses create categories to differentiate, and in the B2B technology sector, which I work in, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of companies, and it's really difficult for people that are choosing or trying to choose the technology that they're going to purchase, which one to choose. So creating a category is the way that you try to stand out. Now, a lot of B2B tech companies tend to work very closely with analysts like Gartner and Forrester, who will they'll pay a lot of money to effectively put them in a box. And that's great if you're one of the guys that is in the top right, in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, because you're a leader. But anybody else in that market is just a me too. So the purpose of category design is to define your own category and dominate that category by not allowing someone else to do it for you. So the main benefit really of it is if you don't do it, somebody else will.
With you. So what would you say are the steps involved in designing your own category? Can you run us through those?
Yeah, sure. So there are a number of steps. The first one is to sit down with the key stakeholders in the business and understand exactly what problem the business solves. Category design is sort of falling in love with the business issue, the problem that the business solves. And it really, in sitting down with the founders, you find out exactly how the business kind of came about, what the core messaging is, that kind of thing, and where they have come to at that point. Then you sit down for a bit more time and work out, looking at the way that the competitors in the space are kind of acting and messaging themselves, how to tease out those points of differentiation. Focuses very heavily on the technology. So if you look at the physical products that you have and how that is different, that's what it teases out. Then once you've done that, you can create what we call a point of view. So a point of view for the business that lists out exactly what the problem is, why the problem is the problem, and how the business solves that problem. So at every stage you're thinking about, how can I differentiate this business? How can we create a category that is different to other categories out there? And how can we demonstrate that we're the leaders in that category and anybody else is just a me too? Once you've done that, you can start working on your ecosystem, what we call your category ecosystem, which is bringing in other companies and possibly technologies and partners that you can bring together and make part of your ecosystem, thus kind of furthering the category leadership process.
Okay, so after you've then done this and designed your category, what else needs to happen to bring that to life and to make the whole thing happen?
Yeah, the reason that categories fail is because businesses fail to prosecute on them. They spend a hell of a lot of time and budget focusing on what the category name is. So those kind of 3-letter acronyms that you see, like CRM, customer revenue management, and they spend all the money focusing on that and not prosecuting the category. So the main thing to do once you're ready and you've got your category and you want to tell the whole world about it, is to do what we call a lightning strike. And it's not just one lightning strike, right? There are multiple lightning strikes that you have to carry out. And what we mean by a lightning strike is a very kind of pressured, small amount of time that you're intensely hitting the market with your message. So that would be through PR, through marketing, through partner events, analyst interviews and analyst days, that kind of thing. So you're demonstrating your dominance at one particular point in time. Once you've done that, you've got to work on the next bounce of the ball. So what can I now, in my next lightning strike, go out to the market with that is sort of furthering the story from the story we've just told? And then you've just got to make sure that everybody in the business is behind it. Another reason categories fail is because you don't have everybody that's kind of working in the same direction. In the book Play Bigger, which lays out the kind of concept of category design in great detail, they have the concept of Zeds. Zeds are people that kind of kick against the bricks of the category. They don't like the process, it scares them, it's change, we don't get it, or it's not invented here, we don't understand it. And these are the people that will kill the process and almost suck the life out of the process, which is otherwise incredibly exciting. So there are a number of things that can go wrong, but there are a number of important things to do. And the main thing is to prosecute and constantly prosecute upon the category.
With you. It just occurred to me then that they're basically the equivalent of the business fun police. Ones who are on board with the idea, right?
Yeah, they are. And the problem is that so many businesses that are trying to execute a category tend to get every man and his dog involved, whereas really it should be a very specific set of people that are designed and solely in the room, all kind of going in the same direction. Our job is to, create and prosecute this new category, and everybody else has to play ball. And if you don't, sorry, we're not playing with you anymore.
I can see this would probably be good for businesses just in general, because you're then making sure, am I right in saying this, making sure everyone's aligned with the business's focus and direction, and anyone who's not a team player, you've got a legitimate reason to say, look, sort yourself out or get out. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're, category design is business change, and although it's driven a lot by marketing, you work with the CMO and the CEO and you try and get the founders' insights, it's prosecuted very heavily by marketing. And communications. So you need PR, you need the marketing team, and the whole business has to be behind it. You need the sales guys behind it as well. You need the sales guys to go out and start talking to customers, with that category message in mind, with that point of view that I talked about just now in mind. It's so important that everybody is behind it. If not, it just kills it before it's got anywhere.
Nice. And what could you talk us through some of your favourite case study examples of category design done really well? Some of your favourites?
Yeah, sure. So I guess one of my favourites is the one that I've worked on personally. So we have a client called Altify, and these guys are they're based on the Salesforce platform. They're a technology that's based on the Salesforce platform. What they are effectively is a sales methodology, and they're really cool business startup based out of Ireland. and they've got, great team involved, but the message that they had just wasn't working. So we worked with them to develop their new category, and that we launched about a year ago now. And the great part of the story is we prosecuted upon it, because as an agency we understand the importance of category design. So we prosecuted on it as often as we could. My favourite part of the story is they've become so attracted to the market that they've just been bought. For tens of millions of dollars, they've just been purchased. Now, if that doesn't showcase the strength of category design, I don't know what does. Another really good example is Qualtrics, really exciting business startup. They prosecuted category design incredibly well, and they got bought by SAP for billions of dollars. So there are so many examples out there. One of the things that I would say is I find it a shame that some of these guys tend to sell quite early. It's nice to prosecute the category properly, rather than look pretty to the market for a while and then kind of go for the first guy that comes in to try and buy you. It's nice to prosecute effectively and constantly, and then see where you're at then.
With you, you're using the word prosecute.
Yeah, what I mean is execute. Take what you've learned from the category and execute that as best you can.
Okay, sure. Well, at this point, this will be a good time to say to our viewers on LinkedIn Live, if there's a question that you'd like to put to Elliot for us to take from you live about category design, please put them in the comments box now, and in just a few moments we'll come back to Elliot and put your questions to him. So if you have a question about category design, please do put them in the comments box now, and we will seek to tap on higher wisdom to give you the right answer and best answer. Is that fair enough, Elliot?
Yeah, that's fine. Good by me.
Nice. Right. Well, my next question was then, is there anything that can go wrong in category design? And in which case, is there anything that you can do to mitigate against it?
Yeah, so we talked a bit about some of the things that can go wrong just now, but the main thing is the Zs, really. When you're very early on in the process, you've got to hoik out those guys that are kicking against the bricks and don't understand the process, or are deliberately kind of rolling those subtle grenades that blow up a bit later on and kind of ruin the whole process. It's important also to make sure that the whole business understands what the process is. So, when you're about to launch your category, don't just launch it to the outside world and forget about your business. The business needs to be behind it as well. So you need to get the sales team involved, the marketing team involved, finance team involved. Everybody needs to come and understand where the business has come from, where the business is going, what the purpose of this process is, and what it's going to do for the business in the future. Then, once you've launched the category, there are a lot of other things that could go wrong. Maybe you didn't sit down and work hard enough on your category, or somebody got there before you. That's even worse. You put all this work in, somebody got there before you, and you didn't go back and think about maybe you should change, tact slightly. But generally, all of that stuff can get done quite, sort of left shifted. That stuff can get done early. The stuff that can really go wrong is around when you're executing upon the category and you're going out there to the market. And if you don't have a strong enough story, and you don't have a strong enough ecosystem, and you don't have a bunch of customers that you can wheel out to talk about the category on your behalf, then you're going to have some issues.
Nice. You were saying that here we go. One of the UK's top voiceover artists has actually given me the answer for I was a little bit confused as to the use of the word prosecute, but so Grant Francis says, continue with a brackets course of action with a view to its completion, and he qualifies that with a serious threat to the government's ability to prosecute the war. Great English.
Yeah.
I'd never knew that.
Very
but
good
there we
English.
Go. Yeah,
as an English graduate, I love that. Yeah, excellent. Thanks.
Nice. There we go. And hello to Mike Borelli as well, global digital marketing leader in B2B. Okay, let's do the question from Mike then. So, a question for you, Elliot. Mike asks, do you suggest a minimum investment to start with? And he's thinking about an SME in context. For example, how a startup could launch their first new category. That's a great question.
Yeah, it is a good question. I mean, of course, there are, generally, this process is time based, and it takes a long time. I think in terms of investment, you need to be thinking, it's going to be a significant amount of money and it's going to be a significant amount of time. And often, especially when we speak to smaller businesses, they tend to kind of go, "Oh no, that's a huge amount of money, and we'll do whatever we can to help them out." Of course, the most exciting thing for us as an agency is just to be able to do it, because it's a really cool thing to get involved with. But I think you need to consider, in terms of investment, not just what the kind of monetary kind of value is, because that will be proven down the line if you execute on the category correctly, but in terms of time. A lot of businesses fail to understand the sheer amount of time it will take to, not just go through the founder's insight piece that I've talked about, which is basically the history of the business and where it came from, through to kind of solving, what the problem is to start with, and then how to solve the problem. It takes a long time to work to get to that point alone, let alone go ahead and execute. So I would say, be prepared for it to take a long time, but trust me, it's worth it.
So are we talking 3 weeks here to execute such a mammoth task?
No. You're talking months, if not years. I mean, these businesses that execute category design incredibly well will be working on it for years and years, and will constantly try to refine their category as they move through that process. It's not something that you can just do and then drop and it's done and your hands off. It has to be constantly evolved. As businesses move and change and the markets move and change, you need to be agile. And if for a category leader one day, you may be one day, but the next day maybe not. So you always need to have your eye on your category and make sure that you're dominating it in the way that you need to.
With you. Let's take a question now from Zoe Lick. Could you clarify on the difference between a category design and a marketing strategy that differentiates the business offer from other businesses, or does it come to a similar process?
It is different. It's fundamentally different, in fact. So category design is the process of defining your market. So it's not at the product level. So when we talk about category design, we mean customer revenue management, those kind of 3-letter acronyms that you associate with technology companies, marketing automation software, those kinds of names where you go, I understand that market. It's not a case of launching new messaging. Messaging does come later, and it is a fundamental part of it, but it's a much more higher level business change process than that.
Okay. And what would be your advice then for a marketing department interested in taking this forward and taking their first steps towards designing, creating and implementing their own category?
Yeah, so if you're a marketing department that's maybe watched this or will watch it and has gone, oh yeah, I fancy a bit of that, I might have a go. The first thing to do is to go and buy the book for a start. Go out, buy the book called Play Bigger. It's an excellent read, written by some of our colleagues over in the States who are all excellent marketers in their own right, CMOs and in fact a journalist as well, who have years and years of experience in doing this. So go and buy the book and read the book. The second thing to do is go and share the book with your CEO. Make sure your CEO reads the book. You can't go through this process until you read the book. Then you've got to work out whether it's right for you right now. And in some cases it might not be. And in fact, in quite many cases, it just doesn't feel right for the business, or it just doesn't feel like the right thing to do. But if you go through all that and it does feel right, you need to start thinking about what the market looks like, where you're at right now, what comes next, what your category could be, for B2B tech companies, how your technology plays into that, and what your technology roadmap is, and how fundamentally you differentiate yourself as a business. Those are the first things to focus on. Then after that, you can call someone like me and we can help prosecute on that category.
Thank you very much. So just to recap, so it's Play Bigger, is the book. I can't remember
Play Bigger.
I can't remember the name of the authors either. That's really bad. But yeah, Play Bigger. Just Amazonify it. Yep. And
the authors are Chris Lockhead, Al Ramadan, Dave Peterson, and Kevin Maney. All excellent guys, absolute experts. Far cleverer than me.
Nice. Right, well, there we go. That pretty much brings us to the end of it. Oh, actually, no. Here we go. I just want to say a quick shout out to Lexi Reese, Industrial Liaison Officer at University of Portsmouth. Hey, Lexi. That is, Elliot, thank you so much for joining me today on the show. I think we made it through our first official LinkedIn Live relatively smoothly.
Yeah, I think we did.
Indeed. So this is Mr. Elliot Harrison from Positive Marketing in Hammersmith, West London. If after everything you've gone through and reading the book, give Elliot, in fact, connect with him on LinkedIn. He comes up with some great stuff on LinkedIn, so it'll just be cool to connect with him as a contact anyway. And in the meantime then, so the 414 Live is our weekly show that we'll be doing here live on LinkedIn, interviewing and speaking with some of the greatest and most interesting minds in B2B marketing every week. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the podcast app. I was looking around for my phone then to show you the app. So yes, if you haven't already, subscribe to the 414 on your favourite podcasting app so that you get this show each and every week just in case you miss the live. But failing that, we'll be doing this mornings most of the time on a Thursday, but next week we'll be here live at 11:30 on next Friday to do our next The 414 Live. Nearly made it through without screwing up some words. There we go. Thank you very much for watching. My name's James Rostance and we'll see you next time.